Hi everybody, Leo Babauta here, and today I want to talk about how to simplify your finances. And so this is a complicated topic, but I'm going to keep it fairly simple. I'm going to talk about a tool that I use. It's not a secret tool, you might have heard of it already, but it's called You Need a Budget, YNAB. We're going to call it YNAB. You Need a Budget. So if you go to Google, You Need a Budget, um, it is software. It started as a spreadsheet actually more than a decade ago. And it's evolved into one of the best personal finance tools. I even use it to manage my business finances and my personal finances, two different things. And I subscribe. It's like $84 a year, so it's not cheap. But if you break that down into, monthly costs, it's like what, six, $7 a month. So actually pretty affordable. Maybe they raised the price a little bit, but $8, $9 a month, something like that. And I think it's worth it. I'll put a link to an affiliate link where you can sign up. There's actually a free version that you can sign up for. I'm not being paid I'm not being sponsored. I actually really believe in this tool, and I think it'll simplify your financial life. But the affiliate link, I don't think actually gets me any money. It uh, helps me with my subscription. So you can save me a little bit of money by signing up, but use the free version. So why does YNAB, or You Need a Budget, help you to simplify your finances? Well, I think it does a few key things, and you can do these without YNAB. I think it makes it easier. I think it's a great piece of software. Phone, I use it on my Android. I had it on my iPhone. I use it on the web. But it does a few things that I think are really important for simplifying your finances. The first thing that it does is it has a very different approach to budgeting. It's not your typical budgeting thing where you kind of like make a wish list of how you want to spend things and then it kind of like goes that way or it doesn't. It uses the thing that I used in my personal life before YNAB was even around, called back then it was called the envelope budgeting system. And when I was trying to get out of debt, or me and my wife were, um, we were super broke and we were not good at managing our money. And so we learned how to do it by using this system, which is to actually get some envelopes. And we had paper envelopes, for letters, right? A paper envelope, one of them said gas money. And we would take cash out of the bank and we put in there $80 here for gas money, right? And that would be here. And then whenever we needed to buy gas, we would take money from that envelope and go and spend it on gas. We had the same thing for groceries. We had the same thing for eating out. Um, we would pay certain bills online, like power and things like that, rent. But for discretionary money, which was like stuff that, wasn't a fixed amount every month, we would put it in envelopes and actually spend from that. And the magical thing about that, the way that that makes things really simple is if you need to buy some gas, you look inside that envelope and it's like, oh, there's only $20 in there. I know how much is left for spending on that. If I need to go out and eat, I look, there's no money in there. I don't go out and eat, right? It's that simple. And so that's actually how YNAB works, is it does the same kind of thing, except you have digital envelopes. So I have a digital envelope for like, I actually lump together a lot of different spending, discretionary spending things from groceries to eating out. I put that actually all in one envelope um, for, lots of reasons. You don't have to do that. If you want one for groceries and one for eating out and one for buying clothes, go ahead and do that. I kind of put all of those together. It just makes things a little bit easier for me and my wife. But I also have one for medical expenses. I have one for um, what else do we have? Uh, Gifts is another one. Um, and then I have one for power. I have one for water. I have one for car insurance, that kind of thing. So I have different envelopes. And if we need to see like how much do we have left, we just look in there and we're like, that's how much. I've taken money that was in my bank account and I put it into these different envelopes. And I do that every single month. Every month I'm like, I need to put certain amount for power, some for water, some for, rent and all that. And so those are all kind of allocated. Now, sometimes I don't have enough. And so when the money comes in, if I get paid for my business, I take that money and I go and put it into the envelopes that need it. It's a very simple process. I actually go on YNAB every single day. But I do that just to make sure that, everything is being tracked and I'm categorizing things and it makes things really easy. So that's actually my second tip. First one is use the envelope budgeting system in YNAB. And the second tip is do a little bit every day. So what I do when I go into YNAB every morning is I look at it and it will show me new transactions that's imported in the last, few hours, maybe 12 hours. So it's like, oh, when we spent at, Chipotle 2 days ago, it's now there. And I just categorize it under the right category. And there's maybe like 3 or 4 transactions that I have to do every day. Simple. And then I go over to my business and I do the same thing. Oh, some software that I pay for every month is now charged and I can see it that was automatically imported. And so I just categorize it. So I do that every morning as categorize, and then I go into the budget and I look like, are there any budget categories that are in the negative? Maybe I overspent accidentally. If so, I need to take some money out of one envelope and put it into another so that everything kind of works out. I haven't over allocated my money. So I actually think that this system works really, really well. Another thing that YNAB does, and this will be the third way to simplify your finances, is YNAB accounts for long-term expenses. So, for example, let's say every year you have to register your car, and for me that car registration might be like $800. Now I can just be surprised, and May comes around and I have to find that $800. Or I can be like, hey, every year I'm surprised by that $800. I don't know why it's a regular expense, but it's not a monthly expense, it's an annual expense. And so for annual expenses like that, I um, I actually allocate a little bit of money every month. So if you take 800 and you divide it by 12, what is that? $70, let's say. Math is not coming to me as I record this, but let's just say it's $70 a month. So every month I put $70 in there, and May comes around, I've got the $800. Amazing. Planning ahead. What a concept. Now, those are for regular annual expenses, long-term expenses, but there's other ones that are not as easily plannable. So for example, let's say I know that when my phone breaks down or my computer breaks down, I'm going to buy a new one. I don't know when that's going to be, but what I would really like is to have the money in my bank account so that when it does break down, I have some money there. And so I put aside a little bit for tech replacement. It could be $20 a month, it could be 40, but I put some aside so that every month I have that little envelope growing, and then when I actually need it, I use it. Now, when it gets to a certain amount, I don't keep adding to it. So after, let's say it was like $1,000. After I add in $40 a month and it gets to 1,000, I stop putting in the $40. And so I just leave it in there. And then when I spend it, I start to rebuild it to that amount. So you can set a target amount and then put money in there until you hit that target amount. You're going to be spending on tech. You know that you're going to be spending on car maintenance. We rarely budget for that, for most people. And so what this does is it takes those longer term expenses, either fixed ones like my car registration, or ones that are, you just want to make sure you have some in there. At some point, something in your house is going to break down. Your refrigerator will break down, your washer will break down, your water heater will break down. So why not have a fund where you're setting aside money because you know that that's going to happen? Your car is going to break down at some point. And so you start saving money. And you also know like you like to travel or you'd like to do these other really fun things. So you can save for those goals as well. So in terms of simplifying your finances, having these longer term kind of envelopes that you're putting money into that you know you're going to want or need someday, it simplifies your finances because what happens for most people who don't do this is that expense comes around, their car breaks down, their refrigerator breaks down, and they don't have the money set aside for it. Of course, like why would we, right? And so with that, there's no money, so you have to pull that from somewhere else, or you put it onto the credit card, and now you're in debt, and it's stressful. It becomes messy. This way, what we're doing is we're thinking ahead, we're building up towards it long term. Even if it's, like I said, $20 a month, you start putting some money aside, and even if you didn't get the full amount, at least you have some set aside. And over time, this actually simplifies your financial life in a huge, huge way. Another thing that YNAB does that I really like, I actually have a hard time managing my credit card spending versus my bank account. So I at one point I figured this out, and then I also forgot how to do it. And YNAB helps me to do this so simply. So for example, let's say I go and spend some money on my credit card, and I've got $1,000 now in credit card debt. Bill comes around. Great. I should just pay that from my bank account, right? I have the money in my bank account, just transfer it over. But guess what? Maybe I already spent some of that $1,000. Maybe I spent 500 of it from my bank account, and now I only have 500 to pay towards my credit card. Now I have 500 remaining on my credit card balance that's going to accumulate in interest. Not great. So what YNAB does is when you spend money on your credit card, it takes the money from that envelope, let's say gas, and it takes it and it puts it aside for your credit card payment. Takes it from one envelope to your credit card payment envelope automatically because you categorize it, right? You're like, this credit card spending is for gas, this credit card spending is for eating out, this is for groceries, and so all of those things get taken out of those envelopes and puts it into your credit card payment envelope. And then when your bill comes, you take the money from your credit card payment envelope and you go and pay it. It might not make a lot of sense until you actually put it into practice, but this is the most sane way to manage your credit cards so that you aren't double spending. You have the money set aside. For me, as long as I'm following the system, and sometimes when things are tight, I don't quite get to follow it, but most of the time, and I've been really good about it lately, most of the time, I have the money in my credit card payment bucket, my payment envelope to just go and pay every single month. And that I think it'll simplify your life in a lot of ways. Last thing I'm going to say is a thing that is a little bit obvious for most people, but it's automating your finances as much as possible. So credit card repayment, every month your credit card payment is due, put it on auto pay. If you're using YNAB in the way that I'm suggesting, which is the way that YNAB tells you to do it, every time you spend on the credit card, you take it from one envelope and put it into the credit card payment envelope. You'll have the money there in your bank account for the credit card payment. When the bill comes due, it automatically charges you and it takes it from that envelope and puts it to the credit card. So if you have your credit card auto paid, you won't have to worry about it. Every month, it'll just take that money out of your bank account. And you can do the same thing for your power bill, for your rent or your mortgage, for your car payment, your car insurance. Just have it all on auto pay and make sure that you're putting the money in those buckets every month. If the money is in the car payment bucket and your car insurance bucket and your, house insurance or your rent buckets, if those are there, when the time comes to pay it and it just auto deducts, you've got the money. And so I actually think that automating your finances in that way is huge. I also think you should automate your savings and your investment. So every paycheck, have money go to savings. Every paycheck, have money go to your investments, a certain amount, and just have that be automatic. What that means, though, is that you have to put those envelopes, those buckets, put money in there so that it's going to be there when the auto payment gets done. But it saves so much time and hassle. You don't have to pay a ton of bills. Those all get paid automatically. And so in this way, I rarely actually am paying bills. I'm just making sure that the buckets, the envelopes are filled up in YNAB. My financial life is fairly simple when I'm following this. When I'm not, my life is a mess. Sometimes it's a mess, but these are the things that I recommend. You don't have to use YNAB to do it this way, but YNAB is structured for this. And I actually think that it will simplify your finances greatly if you follow this. There's other YouTube resources to teach you how to use YNAB because it's a little bit counterintuitive when you first start, but once you get the hang of it, it's so easy. It's simple. It's nice. Use it. Use my affiliate link to sign up. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. I hope this was helpful. I'm sorry if this sounded like a paid sponsored ad, but it's not. It's just something that I use and I think you'll like it. And I do think, even if you don't use this tool, that these principles will simplify your finances. I'm Leo saying goodbye. Please give this a thumbs up if this was helpful. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. What do you do to simplify your finances? Which of these things were valuable to you? And then subscribe for more of this content. I would love that. I love you. Bye-bye.